Of the, I'm sorry, sure, maybe this is not called to it's helpful. And person at the district's administrative office and by health. Members of the public and participate in the meeting or the association. Instructions for submitting public comments are available on the meeting agenda. Please call the roll.
Communications.
Thank you. And the next item is approving the March 12th, 2024 Legislative Funding and Public Affairs Committee meeting minutes. Do we have any public comments on this item?
We have no public comments at this time.
Thank
I'll
you.
move approval of those minutes.
I'll second. Can we have roll call, please?
Chair Gleason,
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker.
Yes.
Motion passes 2-0. Director Sear is absent.
Then we will go on to the committee business item number 3, selection of trail names for Phase 2 trail segments at Bear Creek Redwoods Open Space Preserve, renaming of the Alma Trail, and naming of the existing ADA accessible path through the Alma Cultural Landscape Area. Could we have a staff presentation, please?
Okay. Okay, can it be switched over on the screen? Okay, can everybody see that?
We can see it, but we can't hear you very well.
Okay, how about now?
That's a little better. Thank you.
Okay, great. All right. Hi, my name is Matea Ottoboni, and I'm a Planner 2, and I'm joined today by Tyler Smith, a Planner 3, and we are going to be discussing the Bear Creek Redwoods Phase 2 trail naming effort for the Laugh Pack Committee. So our agenda for today is that we'll go over the General Manager's 4-part recommendation. We'll discuss the approach and process, go over the timeline, provide an overview of our trail segments, recommended names. We'll go over some alternatives, and then we'll open it up for questions and discussion. So part 1 of our general manager's recommendation is to review and affirm renaming the existing Alma Trail in Western Bear Creek Redwoods Open Space Preserve as the Upper Pete Siemens Trail. The second part of the recommendation is to review and affirm the following recommended trail segments for the Phase 2 segments. So segment 1 would be Lower Pete Siemens Trail. Segment 3 will be Toad Hollow Trail. Segment 4 is Oak Knoll Trail. Segment 5 is Myotis Trail. Segment 6 is Beaver Trail. Segment 7 is Salamander Springs Trail. Segment 9 is Radio Hill Trail, and the existing ADA accessible path will be the Almadale Trail. The third part of the general manager's recommendation is to review and select a preferred trail name for the following Phase 2 trail segments. Segment 2 would be either Webb Mill Trail or Thimbleberry Trail. And segment 8 would be either Aqueduct Trail or the Big Eared Bat Trail. And the final part of the general manager's recommendation is to forward a recommendation to consider approval of all of the proposed new trail segments to the full board of directors. So our request from LAFPAC today is to evaluate our proposed trail names, where there's been an option to select the preferred alternative. If there's better placement for any of the alternative names, determine that best fit. And we do have 10 trail segments to go over today. So we would like to go over everything that we're proposing, and then we'll have an opportunity to go back and answer questions at the end. So please hold all your feedback until the end, just so we get the full picture. All right, so for our approach to this project, we wanted to make sure all names were in conformance with the board naming policy, which is policy 5.01. So this policy states that trails should be named with geographical, botanical, or zoological identification, or for historical people, uses, events associated with the site, or from people or organizations described in the special recognition section of the policy. So as part of our approach, we consulted with the Siemens family and to select a trail that would be most suitable to honor late director Pete Siemens. After that, we opened it up to staff participation from our Foothills field office, as well as staff from our land and facilities teams and natural resources. And these are really the staff members that know this area best and could provide the most accurate names. So we got suggestions from our staff, and then we opened it up to voting to get some consensus on what people preferred. And then we brought these suggestions to our management team. So just a brief overview of a timeline. Just to note, we are on a little bit of a time crunch to get these trails opened this fall. So we just want to make sure this process keeps moving. We have a tentative board date of July 10th. And then Tyler and I, as sign coordinators, will work to get all of our trail signs designed, work with our sign fabricator to get them made, and then work with our field staff to get them installed so that when we do open to the public, we have full signage so everyone can find their way around. So the trails are tentatively scheduled to open to the public in the fall. We have a tentative date of October. All right, so the location of the trails is in this northernmost part of the Bear Creek Redwoods Preserve. So it is known as the Phase 2 area, and this is a more zoomed in view of it. So as you can see, this area is fairly small, and there's a lot of segments. So it's a very kind of spiderweb-like area. And in consultation with our Visitor Services Department, for ease of patrol and safety and wayfinding, it's best to have distinct trail segments, even if they're quite short, so that they're not big loops where someone could get lost and a patrol member couldn't get to someone as quickly as possible. So now I'm going to turn it over to Tyler to go over some of our trails that have proposed names.
Great. Thank you, Matea. Tyler Smith, Planner 3. So this first trail segment, staff received direction to give the same name for the Alma Trail and the through trail shown here in blue on the map. And in adherence with Board Policy 501-3D, which covers special recognition of significant district supporters, those who demonstrate noteworthy support for the district through extraordinary contributions of time and effort to the advancement of the goals, philosophy, and mission of the district, can be recognized by having a trail named after them. And so at the June 27th, 2023 LAFPAC meeting, staff received direction to work directly with the Siemens family to identify a trail to recognize former director Pete Siemens, who served on the board for 28 years. And in consultation with the Siemens family, renaming the existing Alma Trail in the west area of the preserve and naming the connecting through trail in the east area as the Pete Siemens Trail was determined to be the most appropriate option because of his significant contributions to the preserve and his personal enjoyment of long hikes. And so for locational clarity, the existing Alma Trail west of Bear Creek Road is proposed to be named Upper Pete Siemens Trail, and east of Bear Creek Road and the outer loop of the Upper Lake Trail is proposed to be Lower Pete Siemens Trail. And the future multi-use trail is approximately 1.7 miles, and the existing Alma Trail is 2.7 miles for a total of 4.4 miles. And then this next slide just shows, as part of the phase 2 trails, there is a segment of the lower Pete Siemens Trail that construction will be ongoing, and it would tentatively open in 2028. Segment 3, so this red trail at the top of the map near the preserve boundary, Toad Hollow Trail has been selected as the name. California toad is a subspecies of the western toad breed, and it has been observed in and around the tributary this trail crosses, and is one of the few places on district lands our natural resources staff say they have observed this species. And the photo shown here is one of our staff biologists who is holding the toad, came up with this name. And this is actually was taken right near the stables at the preserve. And this trail is approximately 0.6 miles long. This next trail, the yellow segment, it's just over a quarter mile, and it connects the proposed Toad Hollow to the proposed lower Pete Siemens Trail. And this area has multiple species of oak trees present and proposed to be named Oak Knoll Trail. This purple trail is proposed to be named Myotis Trail. Myotis are a small bat species that can be found in the preserve, including the California and Yuma Myotis species. And then these Myotis like to forage in the open areas around the preserve, and this trail is about a quarter mile long. The orange trail shown here connects the proposed Toad Hollow Trail to the lower Pete Siemens Trail, and beavers are native to the area but were locally extinct for a period of time. And in recent years, beavers have been reintroduced to the Guadalupe watershed. There have been signs of beaver activity, chewed stumps and tracks, and around the Lexington Reservoir area. And this trail is just shy of half a mile. This next segment is proposed to be named Salamander Springs Trail, and it's a longer trail segment that passes adjacent to the Alma cultural landscape and connects to the through trail near Highway 17. Its proposed name is due to the California giant salamander and the Santa Cruz black salamander found at Briggs Creek, and this trail segment passes close to Briggs Creek. This next trail segment is the blue trail that is off the proposed Salamander Springs Trail. The hilltop is reportedly the location that received the first radio transmission from Pearl Harbor. So the proposed name is Radio Hill Trail, and the trail is just under half a mile. Segment 10 is the existing unnamed ADA accessible path that travels through the Alma cultural landscape area. This is the site of the former college, and the name Alma is associated with many places within and near the preserve. And the name Alma is well represented at Bear Creek Redwoods through the preserve's interpretive offerings and at Alma College Cultural Landscape. The town of Alma, now inundated by Lexington Reservoir, was the namesake for Almadale, which was James Flood's estate, and representative of the estate period with other owners like Captain Stillman Knowles and Dr. Harry Tevis. And the property was later purchased by the Jesuit order in 1934. So with that, I'm going to pass it back to Mateo, who's going to go over the trails in which a name has not been selected.
Thanks, Tyler. So the next segment we'd like to discuss is segment 2, which is the equestrian bypass. So this is still in the process of being constructed and won't be open initially, but this will be the eventual alignment. So the two potential trail names that we're looking at for this are either Webb Mill Trail or Thimbleberry Trail. So Webb Mill is kind of an ode to the milling era. There was a man with the last name of Webb who operated a mill on the ridge where Upper Lake is now. And Webb Creek is also named after him. And thimbleberries are a native species. They're kind of similar to a raspberry, and there have been multiple sightings on Cal Flora within Bear Creek Redwoods, specifically in this area of the preserve. And then our last segment is segment 8, which is this very short connector trail. So it's about 1/10 of a mile, and it connects between the proposed Lower Pete Siemens Trail and the proposed Salamander Springs Trail. And so the two names that we'd like you to select between are either Aqueduct Trail or Big-Eared Bat Trail. So Aqueduct refers to the aqueduct that you could see from this trail connector that was installed during the Tevis era. And Big-Eared Bat refers to Townsend's Big-Eared Bat, which the Bat Cave, as we call it at Alma College, where there's nesting habitat for Townsend's Big-Eared Bat, is also quite close to this trail. So there's a couple of other names that were also suggested by staff but weren't assigned to a particular area, but we chose to just include as potential alternatives if there's a good place for them in your opinion, are Briggs Creek Trail and Eagles Flight Trail. Okay, so now we're going to open it up for questions and discussion. We can flip back through all of our segments first if you'd like, or if there's specific areas you'd like to focus on, we can go there.
Thank you. I love all these names. It's really hard. Most especially, I love the Pete Siemens Trail name. We did receive a public comment that asked about cost of trail or of signs and new signage and all that. I'm not sure. Did you have a chance to see that public comment?
Yes.
I was wondering if you would just comment or,
I think you
talk
looked
to us
into
a little
this
bit
one.
about that.
Yes, so I saw the question and it was about, I think, renaming the
Mhm.
existing trail. There's about 8 signs that have to be updated, possibly 6, probably around $300 to $400 to swap out those signs. And then in the bigger scheme of all the trail signs, that's probably $3,000, $4,000.
Great, thank
Mhm.
you. I don't have any other questions.
One thing I've wondered about is the story about the radio tower. Do we have any more information than there's maybe one old story out of Mountain Network News? I remember reading that in, but do we have any other information on whether or not that is real?
Brian, was that one of your names?
Yeah, so there was definitely a radio tower there, and they definitely, had equipment to receive transmissions. And then that is a story that members of, former members of Alma College told. And, it's documented in a history resources report, but that documentation is not definitive.
Thanks. I was also curious that the trails where there's a selection, you're asking us to decide between two. How did it come out that those particular trails have multiple options here and the other ones have a single preferred option?
So yeah, those just didn't have as strong of a consensus, both in the staff voting process and within management team. So some had a very strong consensus in our staff votes, so we would only present one name to management team. And then others were a lot more mixed. So the ones that you're seeing options some of them were pretty closely tied, like 3 or 4 options, eliminated a few at management team, and then presenting the most popular ones. And some names were eliminated. For example, Coyote Trail was on the list, but we have a Coyote Trail in Rancho. And having multiple trails with the same name is confusing, and we don't want to do that.
Do you have any more questions?
No, I don't have any more questions, but I do have some preferences. If we're ready to discuss that.
Do we want to check for public comment and then
Sure. We have no public comment. Good idea.
nobody wants to speak? Okay, go ahead.
Well, with regard to item 3 that we're looking at, the segment 2 and 8, I really like Thimbleberry. That would be my preference. And then Big-Eared Bat for segment 8. could, however, be argued into something else should you have higher. Since it's your ward.
Yeah, on that topic, I think my preference was to go with the nature-focused naming
Me too.
in both cases. And I think, I mean, I think people know I really like our interpretive programs, and I feel like the sort of the nature-based naming in this case will give a really good opportunity to lead hikes around there and talk about those specific things. And certainly there's opportunity to speak about the history as well. But I think that the trail naming, according to the plants and animals, will be particularly well coordinated with the doesn't let events. So I like those.
Good. Shall I make motions?
I just wanted to make a few other comments. So I want to thank Pete's family for coming, and I am really, really happy to be able to name this trail after Pete. He did so much for the district and also for Los Gatos in general. We could have easily found things at St. Joseph Hill to name for Pete, but I think particularly that this trail, a lot of this trail in the lower part of the preserve is going to be constructed by our professional trail crew. And I know it's going to be great. There's already a piece that's constructed, and I really want to get out there and get on that. So I'm really looking forward to this. And I also appreciate the staff engaging with Pete's family as you did. I think this has, it's been really well run, and I appreciate that. So, and it's going to be, it's going to be a great trail. It has a little bit of everything, as you mentioned in the report. Thank you.
Yeah, I couldn't say it better than that. And find that I still miss Pete. I still think in board meetings, like, how would Pete think about this, or what would he do in this situation? So I think this is a really fitting tribute to him and his lasting impact on the district and our work. So I too really appreciate staff working so closely with the family and you being here today. So, would you like to make the motions? Okay. Well, it is my pleasure then to make a motion to approve the general manager's recommendations 1 and 2, and 3, designating segment 2 as the Thimbleberry Trail and segment 8 as the Big Eared Bat Trail. And finally, recommendation 4 that we forward a recommendation to consider approval of all the proposed new names to the full board of directors.
And I will enthusiastically second that.
Great.
Chair
Thank you so much.
Gleason,
Yes.
Director Christine Tucker.
Yes.
Motion passes 2-0. Director Sear is absent.
Wonderful.
Thank you.
I do have one question, if we could.
Question? Go ahead.
So I do have one quick question. Will there be like a trail dedication little ceremony? Are we going to have like a gathering for family and friends? And yes?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, good.
We're working with our public affairs staff on that.
Do we know like when, maybe when?
No, but we will check in with them and we can provide an update.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
That would be wonderful. Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Okay, then we'll move on to the business item 2, which is the proposed amendments to the Mid-Peninsula Regional Open Space District Ordinance.
No.
All right, good afternoon, board. I'm Brad Pennington, Area Superintendent for the Foothills Region. So it's that time again to go back over the district's ordinance for use on Mid-Peninsula Regional Space lands. We did this last about 4 years ago, and it's time to go through what's needed to change it. Just a quick overview. this is set forth in the Public Resources Code 5558 for the district to be able to make their own ordinances for use on the land. These ordinances specifically they're not to duplicate any kind of penal codes out there. It's specific to what we as a district, see as what we need to control the use and the use or disabuse of our lands to make sure that doesn't happen. So again, last reviewed in 2020, and we had basically a committee of supervising ranger and some other rangers to go over they were seeing in the field, what kind of new trends were forming, and they came up with these changes we're to go over. So right now, and also, sorry, to trail on with this, there's a bail schedule also attached. If anyone hasn't gone through this before, a bail schedule is simply the fine amounts that we give to the court. So we're going to set the fine amounts for each one of these ordinances. We can adjust as needed. And then the court will build off of that for final fine amounts for these infractions or misdemeanors. The general manager's recommendations on this are pretty simple: to forward the proposed ordinance amendments to the full board of directors for a first reading. These have to be, after the first reading, have to be published for, I think, 30 days in a newspaper or some kind of correspondence in that manner, and then come back for a second reading after that. Also to forward the proposed additions to the bail schedule to the full board and directors for consideration of approval. There's not a significant change this time around. Back in 2020, there was a large revision to the ordinance. This one is pretty simple. The biggest trend we have, of course, is around e-bikes. E-bikes right now are lumped together in section 409.9 with segways, one wheels, any kind of other electric type device. So what we did to better track the actual, well, what we want to do to better track the actual amount of e-bikes in the preserve and amount of contacts we're having with those is to give it its own ordinance, which would be 502.8. 502 section in the ordinance is also where all other bicycle related infractions or ordinances go as well. So this would put that in the correct place. When we pulled that out of 409.9, we also saw that 409.6 had some motorized in it. So we decided to take what was left of 409.9 and put all power driven or infractions in there. So that would be your one wheels, your electric skateboards, any kind of those smaller power driven devices. And we had to kind of get there. We didn't want to just say electric because they could also be a little gas skateboard, which we have seen out there. So we wanted to make sure we're getting all that covered in one. 409.6, then we just removed all that motorized out and kept it to any kind of analog or just, I want to call it gravity driven device or human powered device. We also want to delete one section from the ordinance, and this would be the walk only zone. We had this for years, mainly around the nature center, Daniels Nature Center, and also at the top of the Summit. It was places where you could get there on a bike, but we didn't want bikes riding around those particular features. So we had these walk only zones. Well, in 2020, when we revised section 502.1 and 502.2, when the language changed, it made it much easier for us to do away with the walk only zone and just put up signs that say, you may not operate your bike on this trail. The word operation wasn't in these ordinances before, which made us create this other thing. So now we basically have a redundant code in our ordinance. So we'd like to remove that. And as you can see, we've already changed the signage after the 2020 revision. So really 502.5, the walk only zone is not being used anymore. Other small changes. We've been having some trouble with some collection boards of reptiles finding up on Skyline where people put cover boards down trying to collect lizards, snakes, whatever. So we kind of wanted to make it a little more clear in 700.4 for the collecting of reptiles and amphibians to put that word trap in there. Could it have been construed before? Yes. Is it just a little less ambiguous by putting it in there? We think it's beneficial. So we wanted to throw that in. Unlawful defacement. Some of our preserves have a little less of a desired bunch in them, and we found that they've been deconstructing some of our fence lines to get into our preserves. The ordinance really wasn't as clear for that type of stuff, so we just wanted to add the word deconstruct in there to make it a little more clear. The courts actually, with what we used before, they would rather us have used a simple vandalism code, which after we talked to them a bit, they realized like, I get it. It's really not vandalism if they put it back together. So we kind of wanted to get down to what it really was they were deconstructing what we had there, and it was a gate. And then for unsafe driving, the colloquial term for spinning donuts now is drifting. And we just went ahead and put that in there. Technically, it was already covered, but it just was a little more, you know, ambiguous without it. So this was kind of resonate with the actual people that were citing for this things to say, look, it says no drifting. It's a little bit easier. They understand it a little better. Change of the bail schedule are really small. Segways 409.9, we're asking to increase the bail to $75. And that's just to bring it back in line with electric bicycles and other type of motorized devices that we have in the ordinance. Beforehand, it was 35. And the removal from 502.5 in the bail schedule. And then 502.8, of course, we have to add, and we set that at 75. And then after hours bicycle operations, we want to reduce this to 35 from 75. Our standard after hours for a person is 35. If you're on a horse, it's 35. We kind of felt like it should also be 35 for a bike. I don't think there's a reason to fully separate out one user group from another. So we just think it's fair to put that more in alignment with the rest. This I put in there just for if anybody needs to understand what we mean with the bail schedule. Like this will show you what a simple $35 fine comes out to be. If you look at that second column, by the time the county adds all these fees to it, a $35 fine ends up to be $237 is what they get sent in the mail. So that's after the court adds all their fees to it. We have no bearing over this. The only thing we can change in this chart is the additional fine, the base fine amount. The rest of it is court driven. And this also kind of gives you a sense of what it's going to cost them for a $75 bail or a $35 bail, which the two changes encompassed. And that concludes the presentation. I'm open for any questions.
Thank you. Thank you for this, Brad. Always interesting to look at how these things, change with time. I did have a question. Do we need a definition of e-bikes? I mean, given that we have 3 types and then others that are kind of like, I don't even know what they are. They're not really,
So
they're like
e-bikes
motorcycles.
they're defined in the penal code, actually.
Okay.
California State Penal Code defined those 3 classes in there. And that is where we would look for that. Now, I believe what you're talking about are maybe the Asurons, and there's some others out there that I believe people are marketing as e-bikes and they're not.
Right.
We have found them in the preserves. Those are by the law, those are mopeds or electric dirt bikes.
They're
That-
electric dirt bikes. Is that considered an e-bike?
No, that would be
Okay.
considered a motorized vehicle. That's a misdemeanor, and we're in a whole different category there. And we have Rancho San Antonio. We got some in St. Joseph's Hill as well. It's our rangers are working through it. Usually the people we catch on them are like 14-year-old kids. And, we're calling the parents and trying to explain to them what they actually bought their child, because a lot of them, they said, oh, it's an e-bike. We're like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
These are the definitions of e-bikes. The motor's way over the wattage. Some of them don't even have pedals. Some of these just have pegs. I mean, it's an electric motorcycle. So we are treating them accordingly to that.
Well, I was really happy to see the change so that we can track the e-bike violations more carefully now. I guess my only other question for you, and it's kind of like with 502.8 with
Mhm.
e-bikes, then I just kept, maybe this is all just in the vehicle code, but I was thinking about motorcycles. So it sounds like that we don't need a definition of that. We just,
No,
that's all taken care of.
that's all taken care of that. And then we move it into the motorized vehicle
Yeah,
ordinance, which is
okay.
802.1.
All right, very good. That's all I have for now. Thank you. Oh, wait, I did have one more.
Okay.
Excuse me. With the after hours, I think it was slide 9. If you
Mhm.
could go back to that one.
Yeah.
Right. So 805.4 bicycle after hours Is that the same for e-bikes?
It would be the same for e-bikes or general after hours. It's one of those, this was put in way back when we wanted to track how many bikes were after hours. So they created its own code for it. But we don't have a code for horse after hours, believe it or not. So we just have it for after hours or bike after hours. So e-bikes would fall under the bicycle after hours most likely, but
Okay.
they would be getting a citation for the e-bike first, more so than the after hours. Because technically, if they're on an e-bike and after hours, they can get 2 citations.
Oh,
Who
I see,
counts?
okay, yeah, so you could track it that way.
Yeah, they could get a e-bike infraction citation and add it on with an after hour citation.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
With the after hours, does it still make sense to even have the bicycle after hours or just go to one?
It's something I kind of did think about after putting this together. And I was like, looking back and realizing we don't have an equestrian after hour, do we still need to track that? It's something I have to talk with the chief about and see if it's valuable information, we continue to differentiate between the use. We do have separate, for daytime uses, it's good to know what our trends are. After hours in a way to me is after hours, but it's something I think we could take back to the group if needed and find out if we even need it.
I see. So the reason would be for tracking.
For tracking,
Not-
yeah. In the
not
past,
to differentiate between users
yeah.
specifically. Right?
And to be fair, if we were going to do that, we probably would need an equestrian after hours because it can't happen. So what, we should include all uses if we're going to pick on any one of them. The other part is the after hours for bike, it used to be more, the 75. And there was a thought in people's mind that, well, it's more risky to ride a bike after hours than to just be in the preserve after hours. Me being a ranger for years, I found the more risk was the people in the preserve after hours, because a lot of times they're after hours with cigarettes or they're after hours with, partying. To me, that's more the risk than the guy that's just trying to get a ride in after work.
Okay.
I have a follow-up question on that. So, if you were to go just on a single after hours thing, could you lump equestrians into that? I mean, I can't really imagine riding horses after hours. It's like not really very smart
Yeah.
to be out there in the dark on a horse, but
It's not going to happen. Yeah, you're
well, that's
citing,
true. Yeah. Yeah.
and that's
operator
where
error.
it comes back to, you're really not citing what they're doing. You're citing the fact that they're there after hours,
Yeah.
whether they're on a horse or on a bike and they're just to look at the stars, they're in the preserve after hours. That's the basic thing that we're looking at. So the use isn't as important.
Yeah. So that's why maybe just a single after, to Director Lee's point, just a single after hours designation. I don't know, seems like it might simplify things.
Yeah, I guess it depends on whether or not you want the data for tracking, right?
And that's something we need to go back and look at the historical
Right.
data and how much we've used it. I have to look back at the public safety report and see if it's something we call out.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. I mean, after the discussion, I don't think I have any opinion on that. It would certainly be up to you.
Yeah. I consider the last after hours horse use we've had was back when the ranch was still involved in Rancho at the Duvnik.
The Duveniks?
Yeah, they used to ride their horses in the preserve after hours back then.
Fun.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little more about the deconstruction? And I was trying to figure out,
So
are we talking about taking down chain link fences? or-
in the Loma Prieta area, we have some issues with people basically taking apart our split rail fence to gain access to the closed areas. We also have them taking apart our gate mechanisms to gain access to the area. A lot of these are to go to other in holdings, not actually our preserve, but to get through our preserve to get to them. So a few occasions now. So it's just really, when you looked at what they were doing, the first thing the DA asked us was like, well, what were they? They were actually in the midst of putting it back together when we caught them. So, but it was one of those things where it's like, you know, it's like, it's really vandalism when they're repairing it, but the fact that they deconstructed it to get through, then we're gonna, you know, they actually put it back together, came out, took it back apart, and it was, put it back together. So it's, they get creative in that area.
Okay, thanks. I am glad I asked. I don't have any other questions. Do we have
Nope.
any public comment?
No public comments.
We- I'll second.
Chair Gleason,
Yes.
Director Kirstine Tucker,
Yes.
motion passes 2-0. Director Seer is absent.
I think we're done. All right, this meeting is adjourned.